Welcome to today's Explainer. Today we're diving way beyond the basic demand curve to explore the hidden mechanics of consumer choice. Think about it, when you walk into a store, you're instantly confronted with literally thousands of goods that you might want to buy. But as we all know too well, financial resources are limited. You can't just throw every single thing into your cart. You actually have to make choices. So how do we mathematically arrive at the perfect purchase? Today, we are going to look deeply at the decisions that lie behind the demand curve and figure out exactly how we arrive at that optimal choice.
So how do you actually decide what to buy when you literally can't afford everything? We've all faced this classic constraint, right? Our desires are infinite, but our wallets certainly are not. The theory of consumer choice mathematically maps out these everyday trade-offs. You have to consider the prices of goods and buy a bundle that best suits your needs and desires given your extremely limited resources. This theory examines these exact trade-offs that we all face in our day-to-day role as consumers.
Okay, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the consumer's dilemma, the budget constraint, preferences and indifference curves, consumer optimization, and finally, the concept of utility. Let's get right into it.
Moving into Section 2, the budget constraint, or what you can actually afford.
Because let's be real, before we can buy what we want, we are constrained by what our income actually allows us to spend. This link between your income and your spending is foundational. Now, to keep our model simple and easy to digest today, let's just say our consumer has a set monthly income and spends it entirely on just two goods, pizza and Pepsi. I know it sounds a bit crazy to reduce the whole world to just pizza and Pepsi, but trust me on this. This two-good model perfectly captures the profound insights behind all of our consumer choices.
Take a look at this blue line. It's a fantastic visual proof of this trade-off. Let's say you've got an income of $1,000. If pizza costs $10 and Pepsi costs $2, this budget constraint line maps out every single possible combination you can afford. Spend it all on Pepsi? You're up at point B with 500 liters and 0 pizza. Go all in on pizza? You're down at point A with 100 pies and absolutely no Pepsi. The slope of this downward line represents the relative price of the two goods. It's the market's trade-off. Because a pizza costs 5 times as much as a liter of Pepsi, your opportunity cost for one pizza is exactly 5 liters of Pepsi.
All right, Section 3, preferences and indifference curves. Basically, what you actually want.
So, we know what the consumer can afford, but what if we could mathematically plot your actual happiness? That's what this is all about. Any bundle along this curve, points A, B, or C, makes you equally satisfied. You are completely indifferent between a pizza-heavy bundle at point A or a Pepsi-heavy bundle at point C. Because you're equally happy at any point on this specific curve, we can say your tastes are perfectly met whether you have a lot of Pepsi and a little pizza or a ton of pizza and just a splash of Pepsi.
Now, the rate at which you are actually willing to trade that pizza for Pepsi, well, that depends entirely on the amounts you're already consuming. I mean, if you're drowning in Pepsi but haven't had a bite of food, you'll gladly trade a ton of soda just to get one slice of pizza, right? That rate of trade, that constantly shifting slope, is what we call your marginal rate of substitution.
And there are 4 strict rules here that mathematically reflect basic human nature. First off, higher curves represent more goods, so we always prefer those. More is better. Second, they have to slope downward, because if you reduce the quantity of one good, you have to increase the other to stay just as happy. Third, they logically cannot cross. If they did, it would imply that a bundle with clearly more of both goods somehow gives the exact same satisfaction as a bundle with less. No way. And fourth, they are bowed inward. This beautifully illustrates how we're super willing to trade away stuff we have in abundance and way less willing to trade away goods we have very little of.
To really grasp this, think about nickels and dimes. You don't care about the physical coins themselves, just the monetary value, right? You'll always trade 2 nickels for 1 dime. That means your marginal rate of substitution is totally constant, which creates a straight, flat indifference curve. But on the flip side, left and right shoes are perfect complements. Having extra right shoes does absolutely nothing for your happiness, unless you're planning on hopping everywhere, which is exactly why they form these rigid, sharp right-angle curves.
Which brings us to Section 4, consumer optimization. This is where it all comes together.
We are literally pitting the absolute, harsh reality of market prices against your personal quest for maximum satisfaction. As a consumer, you want to end up on the highest possible indifference curve because that means maximum happiness. But you're completely fenced in by your budget constraint. You simply cannot spend money you don't have.
So, where do we end up? The optimal choice is right here, exactly where the highest possible happiness curve barely, just barely, touches the limit of what you can afford. Take a look at the point labeled optimum. You'd probably love to be way out on curve I3 at point A, but you just can't afford it. It lies entirely outside your budget line. You could totally afford point B down on curve I1, but that gives you way less satisfaction. The ultimate sweet spot is where curve I2 is perfectly tangent to your budget constraint. At this exact magical point, the slope of your indifference curve perfectly equals the slope of the budget constraint. Your personal valuation matches the market's valuation exactly. Optimization achieved.
And finally, Section 5, the concept of utility. Economists actually have a famous term for this. You can really just think of utility as your personal happiness score that ticks up every single time you manage to reach a higher indifference curve. Whenever you prefer one bundle over another, economists just say it provides you with more utility. And naturally, most things in life have diminishing marginal utility. I mean, think about it. That fourth slice of pizza, it just doesn't hit quite like the first one did. That's diminishing marginal utility in action.
So whether you call it maximizing utility or consumer optimization, the math brings you to the exact same conclusion. You are constantly balancing your happiness per dollar spent. And you do this unconsciously every single time you shop. You shift your spending around until the happiness per dollar is perfectly equal across your entire cart. By doing that, you're hitting that perfect tangent point we just looked at on the graph. These are really just two ways of expressing the absolute beauty of consumer logic.
But here's a question to leave you with. How would your perfectly balanced choices shift if your income suddenly plummeted? Or say, pizza went on a massive half-price sale. Every single day as prices fluctuate, your internal optimization software is adjusting. A bump in income pushes your whole budget line outward, letting you hit entirely new, higher indifference curves. A drop in the price of pizza pivots the line, triggering an income effect making you feel richer, and a substitution effect making pizza look relatively way more attractive. But what happens to all these curves if a recession hits or if a crazy new competitor enters the market? Do you stock up on pizza or do you hoard Pepsi? The answer is hidden right there in your own shifting indifference curves. Keep questioning, keep optimizing, and thank you so much for joining me for today's explainer.